Something new has just been said about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, and it did not come from an anonymous palace source or a tabloid insider. It came from one of Britain's most recognisable television presenters, someone who says she met him several times in real life and never forgot the experience. What she revealed has brought fresh attention to an old question. What was Andrew really like behind closed doors? Lorraine Kelly has never been shy about saying what she thinks, but this time, her comments were especially pointed. Speaking on Pete Wicks Man Made podcast, she reflected on difficult people she has met over the years and explained that she usually gives people the benefit of the doubt. If someone is rude once, she tries to be fair. If it happens again, that is when she decides you are seeing their true character. That was when she brought up Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor by name. According to Lorraine, she met him more than once, and those repeated encounters left a lasting impression. She said, "What a ghastly man, a horrible man, and I've always said that, even before all of this stuff." That line was important, because she was making clear that her opinion of him did not begin with later scandals. She says she had already formed that view simply from the way he behaved in person. She then added something many people noticed. Rather than only attacking him, Lorraine briefly wondered what had shaped him. She said, "You have to ask what was going on in his life and who his role model was." It was a short comment, but revealing. Even while criticising him, she seemed to be asking how someone becomes so arrogant and dismissive in the first place. Still, the overall message was unmistakable. She did not enjoy meeting him, and she believes those meetings showed his true colours. Coming from a broadcaster with decades in television and years of dealing with celebrities, politicians and royals, those words carried weight. For many royal watchers, Lorraine's comments sound familiar because Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has faced accusations of entitlement for years. Stories about his attitudes did not suddenly appear in 2019. Long before that, there were accounts from journalists, former staff and palace insiders describing someone who expected special treatment and could be abrupt with people around him. One reason these stories continue to land so strongly is because they fit a pattern. When one person complains, it can be dismissed. When several people over many years describe similar behaviour, audiences begin to see consistency rather than coincidence. Lorraine's story felt significant for exactly that reason. Then came the issue that changed everything: his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew has always denied wrongdoing, but the relationship itself caused lasting reputational damage, and questions over why he remained connected to Epstein after Epstein's conviction became impossible to ignore, and pressure grew steadily. More and more has since been revealed, and it's a very difficult thing to turn a blind eye to. Lorraine later discussed that interview on her own programme, and she did not hold back there either. She said it summed him up. She said you could be generous and call him naive, or you could say dumb, or many other things. Her point was simple. The interview was not just a mistake. To her, it exposed a serious lack of judgment. She also said it was extraordinary that he placed himself in that position and managed to do such damage to his own reputation. Usually, public figures have advisors, media teams, and people around them warning them of risks. Yet somehow the interview went ahead, and the consequences were immediate. Soon after the 2019 broadcast, Andrew stepped back from royal duties. What had once looked temporary soon became something much larger. He disappeared from the front line of royal life, and the distance between him and official duties only grew. 3 years later, he was stripped of his military titles and royal patronages. That was a remarkable development. Andrew had once represented the monarchy on overseas tours, attended major events, and carried the privileges of senior royal status. Losing those titles publicly signalled just how far he had fallen. For many people, that should have been the end of the story. A disgraced royal, removed from duties, living quietly out of sight. But Andrew's name has never fully disappeared from the headlines. Reports repeatedly surface suggesting he hopes for some form of rehabilitation or private return to favour. Whenever those reports emerge, the reaction is often fierce. Lorraine reflected that frustration during a later discussion about his apparent return to royal life. She asked, "Surely he's not that tone-deaf?" Then she delivered a line that quickly caught attention. She said he should just shut it and go away. It was blunt, but it echoed what many critics had been saying for years. They believe Andrew never fully grasped the scale of the public anger. Each rumour of a comeback is seen not as resilience, but as another sign he still does not understand why people object so strongly. Now the latest chapter appears to be his reported move from Royal Lodge in Windsor to Marsh Farm. Royal Lodge had long been tied to Andrew's identity. It was spacious, prestigious, and closely linked to his former status within the royal circle. So reports of him leaving Royal Lodge were about more than a change of address. To many observers, it looked symbolic. Another visible reduction in lifestyle. Another sign that the old royal privileges attached to his name are shrinking. Attention then shifted to Marsh Farm itself. Property expert Elliot Castle, CEO of We Buy Any Home, said the move looked less like an ordinary relocation and more like a carefully managed family arrangement. In his view, the property appears to have been specifically prepared for Andrew, with privacy and security front of mind. That privacy point is important. Andrew remains a deeply controversial figure, and any residence linked to him would likely attract interest from photographers, press, and curious members of the public. A more secluded property offers obvious advantages. Castle also said such upgrades would not be cheap. Once interiors, structural works, and high-end security are included, he estimated costs could quickly run into 6 figures. That figure immediately raised eyebrows. At a time when many families are dealing with rising costs, expensive preparations for Andrew are unlikely to inspire sympathy. There is also the question of image. Every news story about housing arrangements, renovations, or support risks reopening public debate about whether he continues to receive advantages unavailable to ordinary people. Even when the story is about property, the controversy follows him. So where does all of this leave Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor now? Once he was a visible senior royal with military honours, international duties, and a prominent place beside the late Queen. Today, he is more often discussed through scandal, exclusion, and unflattering accounts from people who met him behind closed doors. That may be why Lorraine Kelly's comments landed so strongly. She was not speaking as an anonymous source or distant commentator. She was speaking as someone who says she encountered him personally on multiple occasions and came away convinced that the public image of arrogance was real. And perhaps that is the most damaging part of all. Scandals can dominate headlines for a season, then fade. But when people keep returning to one simple description, rude, arrogant, unpleasant, it becomes harder to escape. Those impressions can outlast any single controversy. For long-time royal followers, Lorraine's comments may not have been shocking, but they were revealing. They added another first-hand voice to a story that has been building for years, and they reminded viewers why Andrew remains such a divisive figure. Do you think Lorraine Kelly simply confirmed what the public already believed? Or do comments like hers still shape how people view Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor today? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy royal updates with all the latest twists, make sure you subscribe before you go.